The late Spaniard Jorge Santayana said, "Those who do not learn history are doomed to repeat it." Now, you might have thought that was Winston Churchill, but those who don't study history are doomed to repeat quotes from people that didn't actually say them. He did say that. He manipulated the quote and said it in the House of Commons much later. But those who do not know history are opinion editors at media companies. And the one I want to talk about today is the Wall Street Journal's opinion column by Raul Garrett. The Wall Street Journal commissioned a title by him that reads, and I will quote the Wall Street Journal op-ed, "America can face down a fragile Iran. The regime is dangerous but isn't nearly strong enough to withstand a prolonged confrontation." June 15th, 2019, by a little op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. Now, you know what Mr. Garrett also posted? He posted in November of 2002, and I quote, in the New York Times by Mr. Garrett, title of the op-ed, 2002, "An Iraq war won't destabilize the Middle East." Here's the beginning paragraph of that article. "Arguments against a war in Iraq often revolve around the belief that an American invasion would destabilize the Middle East. According to this critique, the region is a powder keg of instability, that a war with all of its inevitable components..." Well, you know what Iraq turned out to be when the United States invaded? A powder keg. It immediately devolved into a civil war. Anyway, here's a guy in 2002 saying, "Oh, the Iraq war will be a breeze, no problem whatsoever. It doesn't matter that there's both Kurds, Shia, and Sunni, all people in Iraq with differing religious beliefs that do not get along, controlled by a Ba'athist regime that has oppressed all of them. No, it won't be a problem, not at all. No different than Iran in 2019, that also is Shia and Sunni, and that is a concoction of various religious ideologies, all controlled by the Ayatollah." I'll let you guys think on that for a moment. My point being in all this, that we have opinion editors and opinion columns in American mainstream journalism because the idea is to offer differing and insightful points of view to the average person. That's why Barry Weiss, to many people's chagrin, is on the New York Times, is to offer different opinions than perhaps the prevailing ideas of mainstream media. But that's all well and good. My only question is, when an author or a writer has so characteristically gotten it wrong in the past about their assessments of the geopolitical situation, or any opinion they may have, why do the mainstream media outlets call upon them again, decades later, to talk about another Middle Eastern country and to put forth the exact same thesis that proved 100% incorrect? It's because I would argue that media is ultimately a relatively small bubble, especially in New York City and DC. The two cities orbit around each other on the East Coast, and people know each other. And this Raul Garrett is an American writer. He used to work for the CIA, kind of fancies himself a geopolitical expert, a kind of, neocon hawk. These are all fine, you're going to have these beliefs, but one would hope if he was going to write an op-ed in 2019 about Iran, he might first acknowledge his mistake about Iraq in 2002, or even that the opinion editor who ran his column in the Wall Street Journal would point out how incorrect Mr. Garrett was in 2002, as this might inform a few of the readers, who surely will read this column and form opinions about Iran, that perhaps this supposed authority or expert is not that much of an expert on the geopolitical situation in Iran, or that it may be more complex than he says. But I think this gets to a larger point about media, specifically journalism, and that journalism, inside the kind of industry, the journalists refer to print journalism as the first draft of history. And that's true to a lot of extent. The first draft of history is wrong most of the time. In fact, that's what keeps historians in business, is historians go back in time and look through all the various primary documents, the primary sources, with a kind of cold eye, hopefully most of the time, as they have no vested interest or identity in the conflict or time period they're examining, and are able to actually piece together what the narratives and prevailing ideas were that led to a situation, what was right and what was wrong. Because journalists and the things that get published in journalist outlets are so often incorrect. But it's something I wish there was more context around in mainstream media outlets, that they would contextualize the content they're publishing, like this op-ed saying, Iran could not withstand an American confrontation, and say, well, here is one opinion by this man, although this man also had an opinion in 2002 about Iraq that turned out to be totally incorrect. it might offer some more context and actually might inform the reader better than just simply publishing the article. Anyway, I thought I'd bring this one to your attention. It's a very good example of how journalism benefits from a kind of short-term amnesia. Anyway, let me know your guys' thoughts. As always, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and click around for another video. See you tomorrow. Bye.